What's up, weebs and casuals alike? We are Baka&Co, and we are here to provide you with a deep dive into all the random anime shows and movies, new and old, interesting and bad, that you should know about. On today's show, we will have myself, Frankfurtter, the scooter scooting Magically Average, and our special guest, the cool, calm, collected Samthemangaman. Today, we are going to be talking about the brand new movie Goodbye Don Glees, which is out digitally today or physically on December 27th. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Not too bad.
I already fucked up your name, so God knows we're gonna fuck something up for the rest of
I
this recording.
In fairness, though, that's a common element to most of our podcasts. So I don't attribute that to the day being good or bad. That's just a normalcy at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Yeah, I'm good.
Hell yeah. Since you are our guest and we have not had you on a show before, we always like to ask our new friends what your history with anime is, what your favorite anime is, just to kind of get you to know you better and have our audience get to know you a little bit better. So why don't you kick us off? What's your kind of history with anime?
Sure. I grew up with anime and like cartoons and stuff like that. I've never really grew up with cable, so all I had was the local television where you can watch like Pokemon, Digimon, all the Fox Kids shows, all the Kids WB shows. Those you have the Yu-Gi-Oh, you have the Teen Titans, you have the everything. You have anything that's on the local side that's on your Saturday channel. Is all I really had to grow up on, and all those after-school specials, kind of cartoon shows that you would get into. I didn't at first. I've actually technically would grow up with anime because if you consider Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, you have all the other stuff that's from Foxbox that came into the US, even though it wasn't the best dub version. I mean, it was what we got. Even I grew up with the One Piece rap too, so yeah, that's how I grew up with it. And then I just like discovered more as I like read on more because everybody would start it with Naruto, the One Piece, the Bleach. Eventually I read more than I watched because you can't. There was no streaming service back then in the day. All you have to do is have YouTube and watching in 240p in parts, 3 parts and different videos and everything like that. That's how we all grew up in that. So yeah, instead of having to only get to spend 5 to 7 minutes per video part, everything, it's literally just me reading so much more of manga and all the series and stuff. And yeah, it made me stop with anime for a while, and I just stick it strictly more with manga.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I still allow a couple of animes in. Favorite anime is still Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
It is a good one. I mean, it is, number one on Mal for a reason, but other than, the ravaged fan base that they have to downvote anybody that takes the number one spot, but it is definitely a great show, and it's understandably a lot of people's favorites.
I like the concept of allowing anime in, like he's a bouncer. It's like, hang on, show me your credentials. 8.8 on Mal? You're not really cutting it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's a good standard, I guess. I always end up watching and reading the smuttiest, etchiest stuff, so I don't really have high standards to begin with.
No, you don't.
Hey, but I'm a hoe when it comes to isekai stuff. So I'm not exactly the person to judge about that. So
that's what I like to hear.
Oh man, you two are a match made in this place. Heaven, golly.
We got straight edge Frank over here. Like I only read stuff that's well recommended. Meanwhile, I'm like, what's the most ridiculous, just over the top thing I can find? Sure, let's read it.
And here's the thing. I look out for you. Like the other week, I told you, I was like, hey, you should get it. This series of Otaku Elf. What do I see a week and a half later on our TikTok? Fucking every volume of Otaku Elf.
You look out for me in a condescending way. There was one time you sent me one that was like, oh, hey, I think you'd like this. And it was like, I'm into my half sister, but also my mother. And I might have a thing for also maybe my stepmom too. It was some weird ass title. And I was like,
domestic girlfriend?
Yeah, basically. But I was like, I don't like you for it, but I am probably going to read it. So
don't read it.
You know what?
Don't read it. No,
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 not
this is
Domestic Girlfriend. No. No, I did end up. I bought a series just today because the anime is coming out. It's 2.5 seduction, dimensional seduction, I think.
that I hear.
Fuck, dude.
That I did start, but I haven't
because-
continued in a while.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the anime's coming out. I was like,
But it
it's on
is
sale. Sure.
it gets sales. I mean, I can't understand
not?
Japanese culture. I'm sorry, I just don't understand that. I don't even understand their comedy neither. So
Well,
I'm
moving
here
on.
to help support American sales.
Yes, you are. But we are going to move on to the movie that we watched this week, Goodbye Don Glees. This movie was directed by, I'm going to butcher this, I'm so sorry, Ishizuka Atsuko, who has also worked as an animator, storyboarder, and director on many shows, including Monster, Nana, Batum, No Game, No Life, A Place Further Than the Universe, Forest of Piano, and many, many others. This movie was animated by Studio Madhouse, which, if you live under a rock, is responsible for Trigun, Cardcaptor Sakura, Boogie Pop Phantom, Ninja Scroll, Hunter x Hunter, Death Note, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. But those are some of like the huge names that they have under their belts. This movie, Goodbye Don Glees, it consisted really of three main characters. They did have a few side ones, but they were really unimportant. The three main characters were Roma, who was voiced by Natsuki Hane in Japanese, which they are noted for being Ken in Tokyo Ghoul, Takumi Aldini in Food Wars, and Biscuit in Iron-Blooded Orphans, and our favorite Otokawa in Odd Taxi. And then Roma was voiced by Adam MacArthur in English, who's noted for being Yuji in Jujutsu Kaisen, Chifuyu in Tokyo Revengers, and Taiyo in The Orbital Children, which if you have not seen The Orbital Children, it's about 6 episodes, it's on Netflix, definitely worth a watch. That was our first main character, Roma. Second was Toto, who is voiced by Yuki Kaji in Japanese, who is noted for being Finny in Black Butler, Leon in Fairy Tail, and Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan. In English, they were voiced by Nick Wolfhard, who is the brother of Finn Wolfhard. But Nick's credits, he only has one credit in the anime industry. He's got a few in other animated shows, but the other anime that he's noted in is Yugo Nansui in Beyblade Burst. And then our last main character of the movie was Drop, who was voiced by Yumu Marase in Japanese, who's noted for being Hinata in Haikyuu, Iruma Suzuki in Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, and Kage in Ranking of Kings, just to name a few. All three voice actors and actresses, just amazing fucking work. They've been in anything and everything that you can probably think of. But for Drop, the English voice actor was a fella named Jonathan Leon, who this is their second credit on IMDb at all. And their first being Tomona in the teen version in the movie Inu O, which came out last year. So those are our three kind of main characters. This was really mostly like a slice of life coming of age tale for these three boys, these three 15-year-olds. I mean, generally speaking, like, Sam, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was good. Of course, Studio Madhouse is really well known for their animation and their arts, and their beautiful scenes and beautiful landscapes, the waterfall, the fields, the entire. It's very nice and looked really good. There wasn't too much to really go into it, but I think that's actually absolutely fine for a slice of life. Honestly, it gave me that Goonies feel. Literally, it's the adventure of kids, literally like go on to adventure or like so and so map, but you're reducing it to 3 people and you want to still have an adventure. You still want to have that experience, and you have that one person who's actually very ill, and all he really wants is one last ride for an adventure, really. After just like you have a good idea sense of what kind of character he is. And the entire plot of the movie of like what is your treasure, I think it's really well explained, well known, and well
Well thought out, well
thought out.
explained. Yeah, I tend to agree. I actually really I actually really love this movie. This is a very good example of a death of childhood type story, not just necessarily like, kind of coming of manhood, but like I would say more so like this is quite literally the death of a childhood, because from the very beginning of the movie, like they set the tone that this is not going to be the happiest movie, but it like that's just from like the first few seconds, and then you kind of forget about it until about halfway through and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's right, this is happening, this is not a happy movie. And yeah, I thought it was a very, very good movie and a very well done, well animated, well executed about pretty much everything about it. Magically Average, Tyler, what did you think generally about this movie?
I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed the experience. I think I'm just more critical of it, maybe partly due to the hype that was around it, but also just partly due to sort of a lackluster ending, in my opinion. Um, so I mean, we didn't really go into the specifics of the movie all that much, more of just like the generalization of what occurred. But basically, it's two friends at the beginning, one of whom had gone out to Tokyo for high school, the other stayed in their countryside, rural town to go into farming school, but obviously has wants and strives for a bigger and better life somehow, just doesn't know where it is or how to get there. And then they also come across a new friend that just sort of, not to like fucking be ironic or anything, but drop in out of nowhere, and his name is Drop. Like legit does.
Yeah.
There's really no lead up. It's just like, hey, friend who moved to Tokyo, and we should go by names. So Roma's the country bumpkin friend. Is it Toto?
Toto, yeah, he's the
Is
the
the
kid that
Tokyo
goes to
friend,
Japan. Or
and then
Tokyo.
Drop is the new kid who wears a little like dinosaur hoodie that I really want to get now. And Roma is attached to their club that him and Toto made, which is the Don Glees. And don't really get an explanation until further on about what that means. They always thought it was meant acorns in Japanese, but it ends up being don't glee, which is another way to express like happiness, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's like a little contrived, but I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So,
which, by the way, real quick, I really love, like, as simple as it is, the like symbol for the acorn, the way they animated it. Like, I really like, as a kind of a logo, I absolutely love the design of that acorn.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it was nice and simple.
Exactly. That would be like something, like, I know how obsessed you are with tattoos. Like, if I was obsessed with tattoos, I'd get that like on the inside of like my knuckle or something.
Ooh, edgy.
No, it's just, it's something simple and just
Yeah,
out of sight, really.
I would get it around your nipples, but anyway,
I'm sure you would. You rat bastard. Anywho,
so they come across Drop, who had been hanging out with Roma, and the friend from Tokyo comes back for summer, and they're like, hey, we're gonna get the gang back together, we're gonna do this, we're gonna hang out. Well, in doing all of their childhood antics, they're blamed for a forest fire because they were suspected to have lit fireworks off in the woods and caused a mass destruction of a portion of the forest. So then they were like, well, how do we clear our names? Well, we used a drone to fucking videotape it, but it shot off into oblivion. Let's go find it. So that's where the adventure starts. And then the adventure devolves into finding your treasure, like Sam had mentioned, which I really like that motif of searching for a treasure, but it's not one that's on a map.
it's
It's
not
not one that
physical.
it's not, but I mean, it could be though. That's the thing. It's just it's not one that's known, right? It's the treasure is what you're looking for, like just it as a person, as moving on to your next step in life, whatever it might be. It's finding that thing, whether it is physical or not, that you've been searching for. Just you might just not have known it all of your life until this very moment.
Yeah.
And Drop regales them with a tale about how he adventured off in Iceland. They're like, what the fuck, Iceland? He's like, yeah, my grandpa lived there. Shut up. Anyway,
moving on.
yeah, and how he found his treasure in the form of a golden waterfall and a red phone booth. Which you're like, that's odd, but okay. And then this sort of spirals into Roma and Toto thinking about their lives. Toto being like, I don't know if I want to be a doctor. Studying sucks. I hate school. This is bullshit. My parents put me into this from the very beginning, and this is just the path I've been pushed down from, an early age. And then Roma's like, well, I'm stuck here in Countryville with no hopes of ever leaving, no real, no path at all for me to even get out. I'm just in a rut for the most part because I have no ambition, no drive to do anything else. And then
To make a
as they
decision for
adventure,
himself, really.
yeah. And as they adventure, they start putting pieces together and starting to kind of think about their lives up to this point and what got them there and what they're hopeful for moving forward. And then Drop dies.
I wouldn't
I
say.
mean, like not from that. I mean,
well, no, because
I mean, it was more because like they reflect in.
But that's what literally happens. They're like at the last point of their adventure trying to find this drone to help clear their name. They reach the very end. They're like, shit, we didn't find it. And they have this huge moment of like Drop being apologetic, saying like, I can't believe I took you on this adventure and almost got you guys killed. And then Roma being like, shut up. You don't ever apologize for that. We've had the best time of our lives. You apologizing mean that it was all for nothing. And we look at how far we've gotten together and individually. And then Toto's like crying or whatever. I don't know. And then Drop finds the drone and they're like, holy shit, we did it. We mission accomplished. And as that scene plays out, they're sort of, again, like reflecting on everything that had occurred up till that very point when they started adventuring the day before. And you have the narration from Roma about what happened and they got back to town and what occurred afterwards. And then Drop died.
Yeah, and that officially makes it the end of the Don Glees, aka Goodbye Don Glees. Like that.
Yeah.
I thought in that aspect it was beautiful, but I also I think as a main character for Roma, like he was for all intents and purposes the main character of this story. I if we're gonna pick out of the three, I would say he would be.
He was the narrator of the entire movie, basically.
This is true. I think he was definitely the strongest character because I mean, between him finding his love for photography on this trip by him seeing the photo showing, I think it was Toto, and Toto pointing out, it was either Toto or Drop who pointed out Drop was like, hey, this whole photo is blue, but the whole subject was around the red speck that was in it. And him kind of realizing holy shit, here I thought this was an imperfection, but no, this was the main character or main thing of this photo. And just him just kind of having this mind-blowing
epiphany
epiphany or revelation of just holy shit, there's more to photography than just trying to perfect one color or one thing in a photo.
And it's even more than that too, because they expanded out to him, Roma, looking at not the bigger picture. He was so focused on the things right in front of him that he didn't notice some of the subtleties in the background, because there's the part where it's almost like a throwaway part towards the beginning of the episode right before they go on their adventure, but his mom and uncle, I believe, are asking him what they should name this new spinach that his uncle had crossbred, and it was massive and stuff, and he was gonna call it the world tree, which is Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil, yeah. And he just kind of goes on a ramble and then says it at the end, and then he's like, I gotta go, and sprints. And then at the very end of towards the end of the movie, there's an article that says Yggdrasil curry is now insanely popular or something. And it's like that. It's if you catch it, you're like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. But then you again tie it into the picture piece and some of the other elements that took, other scenes that took place when they were adventuring, and realize his whole revelation throughout this time, or his treasure that he found within himself, was to not just look at the plain black and white that's in front of you, but try to see through all of the, that black and white into some of the gray areas. And because that's where the real truth is behind a lot of, what you're searching for. That's when he found his love for photography through that too. Because he took a picture of the night sky and it's super blurry. And he's like, I'm going to delete it. And Drop's like, no, wait, no, this is you. You took this. This is cool. Like you're focusing too much on like the standard picture, right? You're not focusing on the person who took it and why they took it, which is you taking it during a star or a meteor shower at night, and what that meant to you in terms of like when it was taken, who you were with, and why you took, like the purpose behind it.
The story behind it.
Yeah. So there's, I really enjoyed the movie for all those aspects. I mean, Toto his was very much more obvious with the fact that he didn't want to be forced into something that wasn't truly his own. It was something that his parents wanted for him and his parents pushed for, and he never really felt like he had a say for his future. His was more obvious, and then Drops was kind of, I guess, seeing it through his friend's eyes, because he had experienced his treasure in Iceland. So his whole
his treasure was making friends.
Yeah, but it was making friends, but then seeing them get their treasures, like watching them.
Gotcha.
I thought it was the other way around, because Drop's treasure was to have friends helping me in my last adventure feat.
Yeah. It kind of hits you at the very, very end of the movie where they find the telephone booth that Drop had mystically kind of given them a treasure map too, which that was hilarious in its own right and kind of interesting. But like they find the telephone booth and they have like the Coca-Cola bottle, and it's like his wish for whatever he can find, for his treasure, and it is spelled out like having one last adventure with my friends while I'm 15. So I think from that it was one of those things that I think that the illness that he had, it was very super, just like the doctors knew when approximately he was going to pass, and he knew that he had till 15. So him writing that, like, and it coming true, it was really kind of good. But Sam, just to get your take on it, like, of all these kind of three treasures, whether it be Roma looking at the big picture, Drop finding friends, or Toto making decisions for himself, I mean, which one did you like the most, or can you relate to any of them yourself?
I mean, I can technically relate to all of them. Well, I mean, except the dying part from Drop, but
let's hope not. Let's hope not.
No, but yeah, God forbid anything happens. Yeah. Sometimes because the reason why I compare a lot to it within the Goonies is like these group of friends are outsiders. Literally, the whole reason why the Don Glees Club was made was because no one else was willing to interact with them. They thought they were weird. They didn't talk to anybody. They didn't know. Everybody keeps talking about them, kind of thing. And the origin of Don Glees was "don't glee," meaning to be unhappy, to be not be happy, not to be glad and stuff. But Roma and Toto still had each other. And I guess the moment when Toto left to Tokyo, Roma was left by himself alone within the outsider group. And luckily, Drop happens to be there for him at that moment. And I would believe. And then that's when the summer came in, Toto came back just to see what's going on, as thinking that he left his childhood's friend behind. While he's still thinking about the childhood, he's trying to think about the future. It has all the messages in a way, because while Toto was being pushed into being a doctor, like most Asian family is, I won't argue with that. You're either an engineer, you're either engineer or a doctor. You could be both, but doctor and engineer doesn't get you a job. Anywho, as I was saying, it makes sense of why, like, when you have no ambition and goals and you have your parents' expectation, that's why, and then you have no choice but to follow that same line of being a doctor and go into cram school and doing the whole studying stuff, even though you hate it and you don't like it, and you're not the smartest guy in class, and smartest guy in Tokyo, nothing, because he was also compared in that moment, but he has to make that face in front of his childhood friend, where he has his old life together, because everybody has he accepted that everybody has to grow up, even his own child antic friend in that sort of way. But
Yeah.
it was luckily Drop was there, like, yo, like we're still kind of young, we're still kind of kids, but really it's like, yo, I'm in my last couple, I have like one more year at least to living, or a couple days, I believe. Can we just be kids for the last moment before I die? I don't want to like grow up to adult. I mean, I don't go to school, and I just literally just learned Japanese within a year kind of situation thing too, because I don't know many. I don't have an idea of how many few people from Iceland come all the way to Japan just to learn Japan, just so like he make the two friends that called him. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work. But
So that's something I do want to talk about. Like I mentioned, like, do you have, like, when we were talking about, like, pre-show, oh, what's your favorite character moment, gripes, etc. This is like the whole phone call. It's not necessarily that's not a gripe as much as it is another thing. I'm fine with, anime being over the top and, circumstantial and like, oh my god, throw, logic all out the window. But there's one thing that logic can't throw out the window here that really kind of just like is like, what the fuck? How is this phone booth in the middle of goddamn nowhere getting electricity? That is my one gripe.
Don't
It's just
think
like,
about it too much, kid.
remember what I say about engineer doctrine doesn't get jobs. I mean, I graduated with a master's in electricity engineering, but there's not much I can really tell you how that works, really.
Yeah, that was like my one like kind of fantasy over the top moment of just like, what the hell is going on here? How does this phone booth in the middle of goddamn nowhere, Iceland, next to this gorgeous ass fucking waterfall, which Madhouse just nailed, that the fucking aesthetics of just being in the middle, of nowhere, Iceland.
I mean, have you met Makoto Shinkai?
Oh yes. Yes. Well, not personally, but I've seen his work. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was my one real big gripe with the movie, is just how is this phone booth getting some, electricity to even function. But I love the fact that they find it at the end. There's a phone call, they answer it, and they're like, "Hello, I'm Japanese. Hello, who are you?" And they just fucking hang up. It's just like, who was that? It's like, I don't know. And it's one of those things that, with Shinkai and how I believe it was either Shinkai or somebody else, how they actually bring their movies in like to other movies. That I wonder if if the director, if she does another movie, if she brings this, like, that phone call into that next movie. That'd be kind of cool.
Be interesting.
Didn't, like, they said like they hanged up, or like or they just didn't hear anybody or something? He just didn't
They
hear
said that
anyone on the
they
line.
hung up. They hung up the phone. Also, yes, it was Shinkai that does it. I think, minor spoilers, like in Weathering with You, they bring in one of the people from Your Name in like a brief scene. So it's just one of those things of just like, it would be kind of cool if we see this in another one of, her movies coming up, whenever that is.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
did y'all have any other kind of gripes, or just like, I didn't like this about this movie?
I had a few.
Such as?
Most of mine center around the pacing. I thought the pacing was pretty poor. The For the majority of the movie, I would say, I think it's only like an hour and a half or so. It's probably the
Yeah.
first. I mean, an hour and 5 to 10 minutes is like them adventuring, like the introduction to the Don Glees and the gang, and them doing all their childhood antics, and as high schoolers now, and then running off on their adventure, and then sort of the ending point is like Drop passing away and the dismantling of the Don Glees base, and kind of that very quick and jarring realization that, oh yeah, we're not kids anymore, and like we die, like people die, like that's a reality that we're living with now. And then the remaining 15-ish 20-ish minutes are them doing a speed run adventure to fucking Iceland. And I'm like, damn, this would have been so much cooler if, we had a bit more of this and it didn't feel like it was just a rush job at the very end to get to this phone booth. Like, I get what they were doing with it, and it can't blame the scenery. Everything about it was beautiful to watch. But in terms of like the pacing of the story and just how everything flowed from that up until that point, it was very methodical and slow, and you kind of felt at ease. And then the last portion, the last 15-20 minute bit was just like, bam, scene, bam, here they are riding in a truck, bam, they're camping out in the woods, bam, they're going through a little crevasse, and then oh shit, bam, golden waterfall. Which a horrible, just name it anything else instead of golden waterfall, please. The whole time I wanted to make jokes while we were watching it, but I was like, no, I'll hold my tongue. But I am not a director. I am not a creative in any way when it comes to film. So my opinions don't mean shit in this regard. But if I were to have directed this movie, I think it would have been fantastic to do the intersplicing of future and present leading up to the telephone booth point. I think that would have made it so much more interesting and left a lot of unknowns up until the very end. Because another piece to this, again, with the pacing, and my last gripe too, I promise, is that early on they kind of show their hands early on, like drop is like just spilling the beans, like I don't have a long time to be with you guys, and they're just like, Drop's acting weird. Do you think he has bad? Did he eat something bad? Do you think he needs to use the restroom? And he's like, oh man, I'm so jealous that you guys get to go to high school, like. That must be so cool. And they're like, what is he talking about? Like, high school sucks. And but basically he's just at some point just gonna be like, guys, I'm fucking dying. What do you not understand about this? Roma kind of catches on.
It did take him a little bit longer than, one would think. But I think also put yourself in their shoes. Like, do you really just want to ask this new kid that you kind of just met, like, hey, are you dying? Like, why are you saying these things?
No.
It's not
it's not for the characters. It's for the audience, right? Because I'm speaking strictly from the audience standpoint. Because we knew early on, like, oh, this kid's he's about to drop fucking dead. That's what he's gonna do. And then the other pieces to it, like with Toto and being like, oh, doctor, and I'm gonna be rich, and then kind of having this like these weird emotional moments when it relates to school and stuff, and being like, seems like he doesn't want to be a doctor. And then you're like, well, nailed that one too. Doesn't want to be a doctor. Roma's was a bit more intricate in terms of like his treasure or what he found out about himself at the end. So I'll give him that. But everything's sort of spelled out at the very beginning. The only real mystery, and to Frank's point, nailed it, is how the fuck is that telephone booth getting electricity in the goddamn waterfall? No, in all seriousness though, like it seemed like the ending was a little bit rushed and kind of just way more out there than it could have been or should have been, given a lot of the like realities that were in the beginning. Like everything about the movie was like, you could imagine yourself kind of in those shoes, right? Middle school kids getting together and then, getting off into high school and being like, you know what? I kind of want to relive that. High school stinks. I'm slowly transitioning into adult life where I have more responsibilities and I'm maturing and things suck in general. So let's just do kid stuff. Like we've all been in those situations before, but none of us have ever traveled to a different country and found a phone booth in the middle of a giant waterfall area surrounded by mountains and glaciers and shit. Like that piece, that's the fantastical anime elements. I'll give them that. But just pacing in general, I thought was a little bit poor. Could have been better. If I would have directed this, it'd have been a 10 out of 10, out of the park. Nailed it first time. Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, the whole shebang. Just saying.
Sam, you got any gripes that you want to go on with? Maybe not as long as Tyler did, but do you have anything?
Listen, if you're as amazing as I am,
because I agree with most of the stuff that you said about the pacing. Because a lot of it could have just move it on a little bit more, maybe expand a little bit more from the future tense wise. Because I'm pretty sure it was like a year or two. It had to be because they outgrew their hair.
Yeah, the purpose of that was
hair. donate their hair the same way Drop had to, because he refused to cut his hair. 'Cause if he's gonna die anyway, let me just like donate my hair and give up like or anything that's up.
Sam, are you insinuating that you're going to cut off dead people's hair to then donate for your own profits? That's evil, and sign me up.
You know how expensive hair is.
I do.
No
That's why
kidding.
we can go into the business. Frank,
But
you want
then
in on this?
you have to grow really really long hair. But
I don't
anyway,
want that
besides
dead
that,
honey on my hands. Y'all have fun.
the pacing of it was a little slow in some parts. Like they explain how much of an outsider these guys are, especially the scenery where they're in the classroom. Everybody keeps talking to them, talking about them, how they blame them about the fire, and all that stuff. And this guy, the discussions between them of how nobody want to talk to them. They're always picking on me, and like actually, this is one of my favorite scene was the moment where you have Drop and you have Toto dressed as women, and then like you have Roma just literally outskirt, and then you have that GIF. It was the out of context GIF that I sent to our group.
So before this movie had even come out in theaters, because I saw this when it came out in theaters, I think in September or October, somewhere around there, and
Well, brag about it.
yeah, I will. Fuck you. Anywho, Sam and I were talking before this movie had come out, and G Kids was promoting the movie, like, you know, coming to theaters, fucking Goodbye Don Glees, and then they had a GIF of fucking, it was either Toto or Drop. I think it was Drop.
It was both
running. It was just both of them running as females, and they're just like fake boobs just bouncing up and down, just like while they were running. But it was just this out of context GIF of just like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? What the hell? But yeah, I thought that scene was kind of really fucking hilarious. And I mean, it goes back to like kid hijinks. It's just like,
Yeah.
how did you convince me to do this shit? My sister's gonna kill me. What the fuck? Like it kind, I don't know. It brought a huge smile to my face in that regard.
I mean, to draw on an example that Sam kept mentioning, it'd be like if you were to watch The Goonies and they got it promoted today and it's just Chunk shaking his stomach. You're like, I don't know what this movie is or what it's about, but I like it. This looks interesting.
So I did want to go to that. You had mentioned that this reminds you a lot of The Goonies. While it does have like Goonies feel to it, I think that this more so, to me anyways, personally, I equate this movie to being a lot more like sorry, not Goodbye Don Glees. Stand By Me. The movie Stand By Me, where it's just four friends going there like, hey, you want to see a dead body? And it's just like the loss of innocence and the loss of childhood there, in which they find a dead body and they're like, holy shit, everybody dies. Like, and the fact that they almost get killed by bullies, it's just like, to me, there's a lot of similarities between those two movies in general that I really thought was awesome, because like I feel like not a lot of people our age or even younger know what the hell Stand By Me is, other than the fact that
classic.
It's a classic, but like not a lot of people have really watched it, I feel like, let alone they just think, oh, it's just that song, but like, or the Lean On Me song. But it's just like, I don't know. I felt like it was a lot more closely tied to Stand By Me than it was The Goonies, but I could see how you can spin it that way towards The Goonies, because that is, for all intents and purposes, The Goonies is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I definitely, once you said that, I was like, oh shit, you're right. They're the outcasts. They're the freaks. They're the weirdos. They all get together, and this is like, hey guys, this is our last, hurrah. Instead of our houses being sold off and we have to move to different states, our fucking friend is about to die. So yeah, I see the similarities between the two, and I do really enjoy that, and I really wonder if what they kind of pulled from cinema to make this movie.
Well, since Frank's mansplaining why his example is better, I guess I'll make an even better example.
I said I would equate it more to this.
I equate it to Without a Paddle. How about that one?
The Seth Green movie?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're all childhood kids, and they were searching for that treasure from the one adventure.
Without a Paddle, they're like young adults.
No, they were childhood kids that got back together. Yeah, but they were childhood kids that hung out and went on adventures and got back together for this last adventure to go find
I'm gonna look this up.
something, whatever, that one adventure who had a big treasure that jumped out of an airplane and
12 years
parachuted down.
after graduating from high school.
Exactly. It's
That's
same
like
concept.
30.
Mine's better because they're in the woods too. So poop on
I
you.
mean, like,
Um,
wow. I mean, those are grown adults and all that stuff, like understand. But at least
Yeah.
with this, I say more with Goonies because it's all really is coming of age.
oh,
Yeah.
Sam,
Growing
no,
up,
you
leaving
don't
childhood
understand.
behind. and stuff
You don't
like that,
understand. That was just to Frank. I think it's like the Goonies. I think Goodbye Don Glees is very much akin to Goonies in terms of like going off and finding a treasure of some kind, whether it exists or not, and the camaraderie of getting together and banding together for one last hurrah. Frank
And
is
I
just
guess-
annoying, and his examples suck, so I have to try to one up him. So it's not against you, just so you know. Guests
Thanks.
are immune to my douchebaggery. Frank is
Thank
not.
you. Thank you for that. Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Love it.
There's also that Japanese culture or something. I'm not too sure. Like when they know like when someone's gone or someone's dead, it's you just have to burn the house or you burn down the like with Fullmetal Alchemist when they had to leave up the old life behind, they couldn't go back anymore. Same symbolized where they can't have to leave their childhood behind because their friend died, so they had to burn down their entire clubhouse and like just left it to dust and literally cheers on the final Coke. Even though Toto's like, yo, next time you buying the Coke next, like sure, not a problem. And
Yeah.
that's literally what led to the whole map and star of the location of the waterfall is.
Which props the fucking drop for being able to draw like a fairly good shape of Iceland in a full bottle of Coke.
I
Because
swear to
not-
God, I thought that was the U.S. or something. Like that's
I
a
did
really
too.
poor choice.
I did
to me.
too. I was like,
I
wait,
got-
that's Florida, definitely for sure.
I was scared at first because when they showed the map on the Coke bottles, it like transitioned to like a world map, and they were like trying to like make sure they had their flight plan of like where exactly they'll be going across the world. and it kind of like zoomed in for a split second on like Ireland and Scotland, and I was like, good God, I hope you guys don't go there and think it's Iceland. You guys are still well off. But
God.
yeah, it was a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed the adventure, but it had moments where you wish it could have been just a little bit better. But still, it was fun. And now I just want to go adventure in Iceland, I guess.
Yeah,
It
no,
did look
like,
nice.
That's all it made me want to do at the end.
agreed.
Like
Agreed.
even like the whole entire landscape, and then the one road where you actually need to have a car or a scooter or something like that just to travel.
Yeah, I
Also-
did find that a little weird. The fact that Drop was able to scooter on just a jank ass road when it's just like in real life you would just be stuck because it's mostly dirt and you're like, how the fuck do you drive? Like,
I would have destroyed my ankles about 38,000 times on my little scooter by that point.
yeah.
It would have been rough. Real quick, did anyone else find it annoying that Roma thought his 12 square mile home was the only piece that he would ever know, and he emerged like 2 meters outside of it and was like, there's people out here? Was anyone else kind of infuriated by that piece? Because I wanted to kind of kick him right square in the teats for being such a ignorant little country bumpkin fuck.
Wait, from
I
his own
think-
home, like outside of his home field, if he went just to.
He made it seem like everything was very far away, and yet they went to most places relatively easily within their own means.
I think what he more so meant is that, like, you know how they're talking about their future and it's like, oh, I have to be a doctor because of my family from Toto, like, and for being a country bumpkin, it's just like, hey, I'm only gonna know this farm and its surroundings. I'm not gonna really know the city. I'm not gonna know, much else. I'm not gonna venture far out. Wow. Yeah.
Different.
Is it?
I mean, it
You
was
don't have
also.
to. You don't have to study to fucking leave your town. You can just get on a bike and ride.
Yeah,
was
but
my
he
only
wouldn't
gripe.
have needed a reason, but to find the drone was the reason to get out and go explore outside of this city or
Yes. Thank you for mansplaining the
You're
plot
welcome.
to me. What I'm saying
Absolutely.
is that he had just such a wonderment about things that you're like, you are live 2 inches away, sir. Just go and do it.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was also the point where, like, again, they're outsiders and nobody really talks to them. He was the weirdo of the group, and he only had that one love interest for the girl, but she even moved to Iceland.
Listen, Sam, you don't
Uh,
need to
yeah, that's
attack
right.
me in my middle school years either, okay? I did things by myself, fine and dandy. All right? If I can too, some shithead that literally piles shit for his uncle for an
You
allowance can do the same
do you
thing.
want a cookie? Do you want a cookie for being able to do things outside of your own home?
No, but
Too
I'll
fucking
drink
bad. I don't have one
my
anyways.
oatmeal stout
Good for
instead.
you. Have fun with that.
It's close enough,
I
right? It's
mean,
like
I
cookie.
got some Jameson, I got some wine, I got a soju here.
None of these things are cookies, and I love the fact that we're at the age now where we're like, "You want a cookie?" You're like, "No, I'll just have a beer."
Yeah. But
Sequel.
Cool.
let's get some final thoughts and let's place a bow on top of this. Just overall thoughts. Sam, what did you kind of just like? What would you rate it? What were the highs and of this watch to you?
Uh, I would give it a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 because it is a good movie. It's a good, really good coming of age slice of life movie. Uh, but I do agree that the pacing is a little like slow, a little bit out there for for the entirety of it. And I get you kind of get understand the concept where like it's not about the destination, it's the adventure, it's the in between adventures that you're gonna have with it. And I guess that's the entire reason of the almost like time skip from that last 15 minutes of the movie where you're going from Japan all the way to Iceland, and the whole reason why you're traveling all the way there is because your dead friend gave you the map of where the location is, what gave him the inspiration.
Yeah.
What also helped cemented his inspiration was that phone call that he got, because without that phone call he would have never found that phone booth, and then so and so quote, he would have not been able to find his treasure. Next thing you know, the phone call was to two Japanese people. He probably did not even understand Japanese during that time. He was just talking randomly, and I guess that plot really like that didn't make any sense. You recognize two Japanese voices. You somehow found them in a rural country bumpkin place. You find one of them, and then if you find one of them, the other one will come in afterwards and stuff like that.
Bound to show up somewhere.
But you were inspired by Toto, who was giving you that speech. Hey, come on, this is your 15. This is your last hurrah adventure. You gotta at least do something like memorable in your last final year. You gotta talk to the girl you love, right? And eventually, like so drop new Japanese, and literally it's a one-to-one translation. And these are the same guys that mistakenly of how to get the Don Glees as Don't Glee, the English translation, as well as a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star miss and like
Oh my
weird
god.
lyrics
That
thing.
Yeah, I forgot about
so
that too.
I forgot. I
That might
forgot
have
about
been my
that.
grips. That actually would have been my grips. So I was like, yeah, I didn't really need that.
The one thing that I actually you reminded me of that I had seen it in theaters and I had blocked that scene out of my head. The Twinkle Twinkle Little Star where they start singing that. I
I was
saw them.
annoyed.
I
I
saw the
was a little
movies.
annoyed.
I saw the movie subtitled originally. I didn't see it dubbed, and it's just like I wish they had just sung it in Japanese because they sang it in English in the dub or in the subtitled version, and it was a little painful. And I wish they would just sang it in
Lucky
the
you.
native
I
tongue.
watched both times dubs. I
Oh
watched
my
both
gosh.
times dub. Lucky you.
Yeah, no, it's not the greatest. I wish they had sang it in their natural tongue, like in Japanese, because in the
It
broken
was just
English,
corny. It was just a little corny.
it was so difficult to watch. But I Tyler, I'll get to you after. But for me, I would definitely give this movie like an 8.5, 8.75 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. I could forgive the pacing a little bit because I thought the journey was so good. If I had to blame anything on the pacing, I think that the time that they spent near that kind of pond waterfall thing was a little bit too much. I understand why they did it. They did a lot of exposition there about Toto's treasure and him wanting to be his own man. I understand why they did it. I think they spent a little bit too much time there, and they could have expanded the after Greenland. Like I would have loved to see like they kind of end it with him in Greenland and then the girl in New York kind of looking up, and they're like having that like, oh, we're looking at the same star, or oh, we're looking at the same moon, or whatever kind of moment. I would have actually loved to see them go a little bit further and see like 10 years down the line of or like, you know, have the credits be like, hey, these are the photos that we took throughout the movie, and then here are the photos that oh shit, what's his name? That Roma did like after Iceland, and like this is who he became and this is who Toto became. I think that adding that little bit of extra detail at the end during the credits would have been amazing. But overall, I didn't have as much of a gripe with the pacing as I think you both did. But so that would, to me, would give an 8.5, 8.75. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I do kind of want that acorn tattooed somewhere because it's so fucking adorable. It's such a good design.
Right around the nipples.
Sure. What about you, Tyler? Last final thoughts.
I would give it a 7. I think the pacing alone, it makes the movie sort of split into two. There's the adventuring portion at the beginning, and then there's the transition post Drop's death, quick sporadic trip to Iceland, where they find the piss waterfall powered telephone booth. In my mind, if I were to direct it, I would have done like present, future. That would have been cool. Truthfully, though, when I was watching it, my first thought was, you know what made this movie even better? If they almost stopped it when they went onto like the plane again. Because the beginning of the movie, the first scene is them riding their bikes. They're going to somewhere. They're scrambling around, and they see the airport, and they see a plane overcoming, and then it transitions to what is technically the past, where they go on their adventure. It would have been really cool to just stop it there. I don't mind a movie that doesn't spell everything out for you, right? There can be mystery. You don't know where they're traveling to. You know that Toto and Roma are together. You know that Roma's obviously trying to experiment and fiddle around with photography. That's really cool. He's starting to learn a bit more just through trade and, again, seeing the finer details in all of his images. You know that Toto's obviously not going back to cram school to go into medical school. So what's he going to do with his life? Who knows? He's kind of open to do whatever he wants because he's not subjected to what his parents want him to do, which is go and be a doctor. I kind of like the mystery. You can add that too, right? You don't have to just be like, and then they went to Iceland and they found the phone booth and everything was hunky dory. And then they traveled back and yay, they looked at the stars the same time as that one random ass girl in New York. Hooray! Like, either give us some more mystery and let the viewers think about it, or just lay it all out, right? Continue on that adventure, like you were saying, Frank. Add the images at the end in the credits, right? Show them what happened after Iceland. So to me, it seemed like there was a lot more they could have done, and where they finished it, I wasn't all that too pleased with. Again, I like the slow pace of an adventure. I love J.R.R. Tolkien stuff. Like, I can read The Hobbit every single year, and I still find it extremely enjoyable. And that shit, he can spend 3 pages describing a flower on the road that they're traveling down, right? I don't mind that. I think that's great for adventuring. But for you to kind of halt it and then do a really quick, energetic, just sort of flash adventure in Iceland just completely deviates from the original pacing. So again, it is a very fun movie to watch. I had a lot of joy when I was watching it. It brought back a lot of nostalgia from being a kid and just running around the neighborhood and doing whatever. So I liked it for that piece, but just wanted a little bit more from it. So I'd give it a solid 7. Not going to move it down anymore, but probably not going to move it up at all either.
I would just consider that last scene this madhouse flexing their animation styles, really.
Oh yeah,
God,
they're always
flexing.
Was. That piss waterfall was gorgeous.
Yeah, and fucking God damn it, I'm always forgetting Roma's name. And Roma being like, this won't fit into one photo. This won't fit into one. I have to like take multiple photos to capture this whole thing. So it's just like, I feel like
Meanwhile, I'm just like, panorama photo, bitch.
Yeah, but I feel like
iPhone.
I don't know. To me, I feel like him not taking a photo in that and actually living in the moment, other than the fact that the phone booth takes him away from that moment. I think that was also something kind of just like, hey, know when to live in the moment.
It's very
But-
symbolic. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great movie overall. I think we all agree that it was like at least a good movie, if not
It was
great.
fun.
Yeah, but
It's,
it was
it's
a
still
good time.
pass. Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
pass. Yeah.
But thank you all for joining us today, Sam. Because you are new here, and where can people find you and keep up with you?
Where can you find people?
Where can you
Sam?
find people, Sam? Sam,
Tell us. Where
Don't you
are
think
the
I would? Don't you
people?
think I would have? Don't you think I would have told people? Do I look like
Tell us now. Where can we find these people that Frank is talking about?
Where can we find the people that is you, Sam? Where can people keep up with you?
You can find me at Samthemangaman with all my socials: Twitter, Facebook, Twitch,
Facebook.
Facebook too. Yeah, I got reached him. I got reached a boomer somehow.
That's fair.
I haven't touched TikTok, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I want to touch them in none of those. I don't want to go in
You
there.
gotta get with the Zoomers now.
Oh God.
Fair
But yeah,
enough.
Samthemangaman, all my socials, everything from there.
Cool. We will have that in the descriptions below. So thank you for joining us, Sam, and thank you all for
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you for everybody out there listening. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any suggestions on what we should watch next, please send them our way by giving us a tweet at Baka&Co Podcast. We also want to thank Akano from SoundCloud for our intro song. But until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.